Welcome back to Alumni Game, the show where three Gamecocks dive into South Carolina sports, football, hoops, the NCAA, everything that comes along with it.
Where our opinions are never filtered, sometimes reasonable, and always fun.
That's right. And you can check out all of those takes that we have on YouTube, Instagram, and wherever you listen to your podcasts.
Don't forget to like, subscribe, follow us on all those platforms. Settle in, y'all, and let's get started with this week's episode of Alumni
Game! Hello, Gamecock listeners. Welcome back to Alumni Game, the podcast where three alumni fans get together, have a good time, tailgate talk, really. You know what? I got to be honest with you, Buster. Again, I'm your co-host, filling in for Mike, class of '06. Sam Niedermeyer with me, as always, the amazing, immaculately smart Mr. Buster Clarkson, class of '06. Happy Monday.
Oh, it's a great Monday. I tell you what, I'm excited about what we're going to talk about today because this is, when I talk about favorite players, obviously the last episode I talked about Sterling Sharp, one of my favorite, I guess my favorite Gamecock of all time. We've had greats like Marcus Lattimore, Jadeveon Clowney, Connor Shaw, but as far as influential in my Gamecock fandom, Sterling was the pioneer, the major influencer, et cetera, et cetera. So, with that being said, for this next generation, I want to talk about what could be their Sterling Sharp, and that's why, I like this episode because we get to talk about the Gamecock of the week. We're pulling
Yes.
guys from the winter workouts that I've heard, through the grapevine, or rather through the kudzu vine, about that they're doing well in winter workouts, probably exceptionally well. But we're getting whispers that these guys are the next big thing for South Carolina. So, that's what I'm excited about. And that's what I'm very happy. It's a Monday, but I'm very happy to talk about, and
It's
it'll get me through Monday.
not only is it Monday, I mean, that's some presidential type of information there for President's Day. You know what? I got to be honest. All right. So I'm, again, filling in for Mike. Mike, please come back. I'm terrible at being the host. I don't know what I'm doing on the introduction because I'm supposed to ask Buster, like, hey, do you know why I'm so excited and why Monday is my favorite day of the week now? Because we're excited about it's Monday, new Gamecock of the weekday. But I
Yeah.
failed miserably. So we're just gonna have to work this out while I cripple the show until Mike gets back. But I'm excited. Who we got today, Buster? We got.
We got linebacker Fred JayR. So it's Fred Johnson.
Should we just dive into it? Let's just dive into it. Let's
Yeah,
just go right into our Gamecock of the week.
let's talk about JayR.
Let's do it. So we got sorry, go ahead. Fred JayR Johnson. We're going to throw up some information for him. So if you guys are listening onto the podcasts, wherever you're listening to them, Spotify, iTunes, wherever, you can you're not going to be able to see this, but if you're watching on YouTube, we got some cool clips. We're going to show some highlights. Buster's going to break down a little game film from both his junior year as well as some winter workout stuff that he's compiled. Got some information on NIL partners, and he's going to dive into why Fred JayR Johnson got that dog in him.
Got that dog in
He's got that dog in him.
him.
There he is. There's Fred J. Ray.
Yes. So this is Fred JayR Johnson. This is my guy right here. This is a guy I am very excited about. He's coming into his sophomore year, 6'4", 240. He's out of Norfolk, Virginia, Maury High School. And he did sign his, I guess, NIL papers, letter of intent. I don't know what they call it, the Garnet Trust back in December. This is a guy that he was the backup this past year. There's a reason why. We had three guys man the linebackers, Mike, Will, and Sam linebacker spots. Debo, Bam Martin Scott, and Demetrius Knight. Those guys, are potential NFL players. They will most likely play on Sunday in some form of fashion. So it's okay that he was a backup. He
Yeah.
still got in on all 13 games this season, mostly special teams, some mop-up duty, especially after some of our big wins. I think he ended up with what was it? Like 6 tackles, a quarterback hurry or two. Again, nothing earth shattering, but here's the thing. This is what I like about him. When he was in high school, he was 6'4", 218. He played probably a little bit of middle linebacker in the high school ranks, some outside linebacker, but he also played tight end and receiver. What does that tell people? Well, that tells people this guy has the athletic ability to compete in the SEC and compete for the South Carolina Gamecocks. His scouting report was saying he's got twitch, he's got length at 6'4", obviously. He plays fast, he's got the acceleration, and he's not afraid to make the big hit. So you combine all those things, and this is what you want out of a linebacker: a guy that can run sideline to sideline, a guy that can diagnose the play, see where the run's going, accelerate to that whole gap, and then not only once he gets there and maybe fights off a block or two, but can still lay the wood. This is a guy that if he has to play in space because of his length, because of his twitch, he ran a 4.2 shuttle in football camp. So anything, so a 4.5 40 and a 4.2 shuttle on a guy that is 6'4", 240 pounds. What that's telling you is this guy can move in space.
He can move.
So if you got to put him in coverage, when they play that, God, I can't remember. There's it's an underzone or something like that. But forgive me for my lack of football knowledge because I'm blanking on it at the moment. But when you got to play like a Mike guy out in space in that coverage, especially if there's a tight end that kind of sneaks out into that little underzone, this is the guy you want to cover because he's got the speed and the quickness to be able to make that cover. He's got the ability to converge on the ball, and if the ball does come his way, he obviously lay the wood. So those are the things you look for in that Mike linebacker position. And
it's interesting that he was. Oh, you said wide receiver and tight end. So he's got some hands. When I hear that, I'm thinking the first thing I think about is, all right, those crossing patterns by tight. You nailed it, right? Like crossing patterns by tight ends or check downs to receivers. He's actually not only going to cover them. He's an interception threat.
Oh yeah. I mean, and that's the thing is
at a linebacker position. That's great.
One of the greatest comps that I can think of is a quarterback from just a few years ago, Sky Moore.
I remember Sky. Yeah, good Gamecock.
If you saw him, he was chiseled out of marble. He was just a physical freak. He was very fast, sideline to sideline. He was strong enough to be able to play the gaps and against the run. And you saw that. I think he led the team all 4 years he was here in tackles. And so you look at that, but then you also look at Sky Moore was also known, especially in his final year here, for interceptions. I think he caught 2 at the beginning of the season. This was under Muschamp. I think it was against North Carolina. We were playing them at the beginning of the season. He had like an interception in the end zone, like a diving, phenomenal, like what you'd see out of a Nickham and Morey type of interception.
Yeah.
This is the guy that can get that done because he's got that same kind of athleticism. Like, the scouting report is he has the ability to change direction and move in small space. But at the same time, he's big, strong enough, and smart enough to be able to come in on a linebacker blitz and be able to fight off that tight end chip or that left tackle, right tackle kind of swat at because he's fast enough. He can dip his shoulders and he's got the flexibility and he can sack your quarterback. So you want a dog, then you got a guy that can pick off a pass, blitz the quarterback, accelerate into the hole, and take the running back out for a tackle for loss. What more could you ask for?
Sky Moore, 6'2", 218 pounds at South Carolina, had 14 total interceptions in 4 years. I remember him. Yeah. He had he really was kind of the glue to a couple of those really good Gamecock teams under Spurrier. He gets any type of production like that. I'm happy because I know Beamer is just gonna bring in NFL talent at almost every position. That's one thing you can count on. That's for sure.
Yeah, and I mean, the idea is that he is the next man up. He was the backup. That means he was second string. So a true freshman playing second string behind guys that are potential NFL talents. That tells you about what kind of player this guy is. And during the season and heading into the offseason, a couple of interviews with guys like Debo and Demetrius, they said not only is he great on the field, but he is a student of the game. He soaks up everything the coaches tell him. He's one of those guys that he goes and runs a drill or is part of a particular play in practice, and they say, "Hey, well, maybe do this a little bit differently or adjust your technique here." The next time he goes out, it's fixed. He doesn't make the same mistake twice. He's that much of a sponge. He is the type of guy that is, they call them hard hats, but they go in and work. They don't say much. They get their work done. They let the play on the field speak for him. He's one of those guys. Off the field, from what I've heard, he's a quiet guy, reserved, kind of, he's the opposite of a guy that I don't know if he would be the main trash talker. I would say. I think his athletic ability does the talking for him, which I would say the one thing that would be something he would have to work on is if he is going to man that Mike linebacker position, he will have to take on a more vocal role because he's going to be the one that's going to probably be calling plays. He's going to have to get his D-line aligned up properly.
You almost have to be the quarterback of the defense. Essentially, right? Yeah.
So I like the fact that all these on the field accolades, and then off the field you're getting a sponge for a guy that wants to learn the playbook, a sponge for a guy that listens to his coaches. Off field character is all through the roof. High motor, high work ethic, comes in, gets his job done. First one to arrive, last one to leave type of guy. So yeah, those are cliche, but like a cliche happens when it's the dang truth. And right now, this guy is showing that like that cliche is the truth, and that he could be a big time linebacker for South Carolina.
You're starting to notice. I'm starting to see some repetition of how older guys, a lot more older guys in the clubhouse are describing younger guys as like, oh, student of the game, right? Like the kind of guy, like the guy that just wants to learn and like is talking football and off the field when they're done practicing, right? Going home, just talking football, talking shop, and I think that's probably a staple of what the type of guys that Beamer wants, right? So he'll fit in nicely, even if he's not. He doesn't need to be a, like the rah guy, but you're right. He'll probably have to work on some communication. I'm sure that'll come with age and experience. Speaking of that, like age and experience, when do we project? When do you think, like, when's he going to start? What is his projected start date? Is he going to be a starter in 2025, 2026? What are you thinking there?
I mean, honestly, if you were playing backup to these guys last year, you are, it's not a said thing. Coaches don't say things like this, but I'm pretty sure
it's his to lose. It's his position to lose.
It's his to lose. He's going to come in the spring. I know that they're going to probably pile on shoulders a little bit more responsibility. They're going to ask him to, and again, this is not anything negative on him. This is what coaches do to everybody, whether you're a walk-on or your Jadeveon Clowney. They want you to show consistency. So his spring and summer workouts are going to be based on the idea of we want you to start at Mike because your on-field athletic ability is off the charts. In order for you to do that, all you got to do is polish up your technique and fundamentals, play with a level of consistency, and be confident in your leadership role. And if those things are accomplished by Game 1 of 2025, he is going to be our starting Mike linebacker.
And obviously, he's going to be a top 5 NFL draft pick. But if I wasn't a hardened Gamecock fan, where would I realistically? Are we talking all SEC here? Can we get an all SEC linebacker here?
Okay, so my sometimes reasonable, unbiased, never wrong opinion.
Always.
This is a strictly professional opinion, completely objective. I could see him being a second-team All-SEC this sophomore year with the opportunity to be first-team All-SEC if he produces like the projections say. I could see him being it would not surprise me that if this, and again, there's a lot of factors as far as what happens with NIL, transfer, when he decides to declare for the NFL draft, blah, blah, blah. But I would be more shocked that he's not a first-team All-SEC and some form of All-American by the time he finishes his career here at South Carolina.
I think what would be really cool, too, and correct me if I'm wrong here, but if he like he doesn't need to be the guy because we're going to have talent at every position. He doesn't need to be the guy at all, which could actually improve his chances of,
Yeah.
people they're going to, with all the other positions, our defensive line is stacked, right? So there's going to be a whole lot of pass rushing going on our, especially with Stewart coming back and all the guys we picked up from the transfer portal. He could have a low key big year, like statistically and quite frankly, like off, like just in general, with basically getting like a new contract, like he
Oh yeah.
really could be in for a big year.
Well, see, and that's the thing is, if you're looking at the totality of the defense, and what his responsibility is, to me, if you look at last year, guys like Debo and Demetrius, they had a phenomenal year. Well, what made it phenomenal is they did what their job duties were supposed to be.
Yeah, just do your
They
job.
did them exceptionally well.
Yep.
But then the rest of the defense, Nick and Memori in the back, guys like Dylan Stewart and Kyle Kennard up front, TJ Sanders, those guys did their job exceptionally well. So you didn't have to rely. If you think about 2 years ago when we were 5-7, Debo was the middle linebacker, and he pretty much played the entire game, every single snap. The guy, I'm surprised he was alive after some of those games because he never stepped off the field, and you had to rely on him to be elite every single game, and it showed. There was almost like not necessarily a dip in production, but he didn't seem as effective because everybody else around him wasn't as effective.
Yeah.
So last year, when we were really great all around defense, Debo and Demetrius both were exceptionally effective at what they were supposed to do. And that's because everybody else played their part and did their job. So, JayR, we are going to lose some talent. I'm not saying that this year's defense is going to be better or worse. I don't think it's going to be better than last year. You can't get much better than someone like Kyle Kennard, and TJ Sanders, and
especially when you win SEC Defensive Player of the Year.
Exactly.
That'll help.
Yeah.
That'll help your defense a little bit.
But I think the talent on the back end, it's young and inexperienced, but it's there. Same thing on the D line. It's a lot of young guys at the defensive line position. Dylan is a year older, and we do have experience on the other side. Production not the same as Kyle Kennard, but some of the veterans there are going to be. I think they're going to be just fine, and transfer portal guys. So it's a matter of if everybody else plays their part on the defense, then JayR just has to play his part, and if he does that, then you're going to see the talent come through. Well, he doesn't have to overdo it. His natural talent and his natural ability at linebacker is really going to shine this next year.
I'm really excited for him. I think he's definitely got a good. If he does even half of what we're talking about, I'll be really happy with his production. Until that, we got you want to break down some film? You got some film for us?
Yeah, yeah.
All right. What do we got? What do we got going on here? First off, we want to let's first off, Gamecock Central. This is their video. This is not ours, but we're just going to break it down for fun. So hopefully, Gamecock Central, please don't sue us. We love you very much.
We're not doing this for money. We're not doing this for likes and subscribes. We're just happy to be able to entertain ourselves with
big fans. We're big fans, really.
Yeah. All right. So I like this. So I mean, first, again, this is high school. This is up in Virginia. He plays for Maury, Maury, out of Norfolk. So I don't know much about.
Norfolk has some talented football players coming from out of there. That area, that whole Hampton Roads, Newport News, Norfolk area is littered with talent. But I'm sorry, continue.
Oh no, I'm glad you said that because that is, Shane, obviously a guy. He's obviously born and raised in Charleston, but he's a Virginia boy. He knows that area very well from his dad, and he knows it's a hotbed of talent, and he's made it a priority to recruit this area. And lo and behold, you get someone like JayR coming out of it. So
Virginia Tech made a living for two decades just recruiting from this hotbed. So they got talent. So these are not like scrubs that are on the field.
Yeah, this is legit talent that we're watching. So I'm all for it. But yeah, you see him lined up here on the outside linebacker spot, comes in on a blitz. Everybody, I mean, look at that.
He is fast. Holy cow!
If you watch that, all right, so he's lined up, and he looks like he's on the SAM position, the strong side linebacker. Obviously, he's going to come in, and I don't know if this was, if the coach saw something and called it in, or if his plan all along was like, I'm just better than everybody on the field right now, so I'm just going to go in after the quarterback. But he's lined up in the regular position. He slowly moves up to the line. Everybody knows what he's doing. I don't know if a quarterback does, but look at the speed. Like that tackle had no clue what to
shot.
do. He gets back there, and that's the thing that you see is that's that speed, that's that athletic ability. So not only does he get in the backfield that quickly,
he's back there in like a second.
He can bend
1 second,
and boom. I mean,
he's got
the quarterback has no time.
He's got those length. You're right. He's got that wingspan there that he can just kind of come in. And he can just he looks great.
Yeah, and the same thing. Coming from the same spot, almost the exact same thing. It's the same position. You look at the backfield on the offense. All the guys are on his side of the field, so the strong side of the field.
They know it's coming.
That's the strong side linebacker, and same setup, same get up. Look at this. And that quarterback thinks he can get out of there. He can't.
No chance.
That backside pursuit, if you have a linebacker with that kind of backside, because again, think about this. He's got to come down.
That looked like a design run sweep to the opposite direction, too.
So if that quarterback has a design run, he already knows he's taking off. So he's got to accelerate out that point. Someone like JayR has got to come down the line, diagnose the play, realize it's going away from him, bend and turn, and then run across the entire line of scrimmage and make the tackle. And a lot of times, if you're not quick enough, if you're trying to make that tackle, you're just diving and hoping to catch a shoelace. This guy doesn't have to catch a shoelace. He's in on the tackle from the very beginning. That is, look at this.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's got tremendous speed, absolute tremendous speed. And he's as tall as the quarterback almost too. So the quarterback's not really gonna have a height advantage. So he looks like a great pass rusher. He does look a bit, maybe it's just me, but he does look a little undersized in terms of width as a linebacker, but he certainly makes up for it in speed. Of course, this is also high school. I'm sure he's put on more muscle since then.
Well, yeah, and this is I think this is junior year. I don't know if he played much his senior year because I think he had an injury or something like that. Mm-hmm. But again, 6'3", 225, in high school terms, that's a monster.
Yeah.
When I played in high school, if I went up against someone that was 6'3", 225, I'm running the opposite direction. I'm telling coach, hey man, I'm sitting on the sideline. 6'3", 225 in high school is a big dude. But yeah, same.
He's about the size of what we got here.
All right, that one I like this one too because you actually can see what it means to fight off a block. So let me bring it back a little bit more. Boop. There we go.
Looks like a run to the right here. Yep.
So same setup, strong side. He's on the strong side. So this is where they are going to run a stretch run, and the idea is that someone from the line or tight end, or I guess that looks like the tight end that's lined offset off the tackle there. One of those guys, that's their responsibility to get to the second level and block him either to the inside so the running back can get to the outside, or they push him to the outside and the running back can cut up through that hole. Either one, they need to work on. Basically, the person blocking JayR has to take him out of the play, whether pushing him outside so the running back can cut in the hole or push him to the inside, seal him off, and the running back can get around him. Problem is, JayR is like, nah, you're not going to do any of that to me. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take on your block. I'm going to shred it, and then when you keep going to the outside to try to get away from me, I'm going to run you down. Even though you're a running back and I'm a linebacker, I'm much better than you physically, and I'm going to run you down, and I'm going to make the tackle. This is what happens. Comes up. There's the block. Shred.
Oh, wow.
Suit.
Look
uniform,
how he looks like he should have been out blocked there, and he made that offensive lineman his bitch. That's what happened. When I'm watching highlights, you know what he reminds me of a little bit?
Who?
The clown, Jadeveon Clowney. And that's just because he's got that length and that speed.
Yeah. And that's that to me, anybody that's playing in the front seven on a defense, if you have length and speed and most importantly, especially if you are tall or have length, if you play with leverage, which means your length is not going to be taken advantage of. You're not going to get off balance. The line's not going to push you back where you have the back bends, that sort of thing. This guy, none of that applies to him. Again, Watch the point of attack. He dives in. He diagnoses the stretch run. He sees the person that's going to take on the block, absolutely obliterates that block. And by that, it means whatever that blocker was doing to try to get a hold of him and make him immobile or take him out of play, he denies all of that.
Yeah, every ounce of it.
Like, boom, nope, you can't handle me. Shred.
Yeah.
Boom.
He that's exciting. So you see, it's really nice to see the dimension that he has coming in from the outside linebacker position, but then also getting dirty and going in the trenches so he completely obliterates the tight end, completely obliterates the halfback and both of their check down, both of their blocking. So okay, tight end, running back, that's fine. But then he gets dirty with big old offensive lineman. I mean, that shows a lot of a lot of different tools in the war chest there. I like it.
Yeah, and let's take a look at this last one. All right, boom, coverage, boom. And that's what
that pick.
That's
right
what
there.
I was
That
talking
beautiful.
about. That athleticism with that coverage is that I love. All right, so it's kind of hard to see him with the arrow, but
yep.
What happens is from that Sam position, he diagnoses that instead of going in on like a blitz or immediately accelerating into the gap to get his run, he immediately diagnoses that this is a pass. He was watching the quarterback, sees the setup, realizes it's a pass, then he finds his guy, his key. Okay, where's this pass going? What is most likely going to happen based on this alignment? He goes ahead, puts himself in that position right there, sees it, and immediately attacks the ball. Look at hands.
Look at that closing speed on the ball too. Like he was probably 5 yards back from the receiver by the time that ball's getting close to him, and then he just jumps
so that
right
ball's thrown to about the 40, and he's at the 45. Boom.
Yep.
I mean, you can't beat that.
I'm assuming unfortunately the clip ended there, but I'm assuming that was a pick six. There's no way someone's picking him up. I mean, that's just a 40-yard sprint, and he's got it already on the sideline. He's gone. That's awesome.
I love it.
And there's those hands that we're talking about right there. He gets that interception.
Yeah. No, and that's what I was talking about when we first said, what are the attributes and what do they mean? So the video is the best way to translate when you talk about acceleration, twitchiness, the agility, and getting the 4.2 and the shuttle length. You got to see all of that happen in real time with these highlights, and that's you're looking at what you want out of a linebacker, especially a linebacker of his size. That's what you want to see. And the one last thing I'll say is, in all of those plays, there was no herky-jerky movements, no awkward movements. There was nothing that said that I'm reading and then reacting. I'm not instinctual. Everything was very fluid and very smooth, which means he's a natural at all three phases of the game. So
we used to call that like anticipation. No, that's what they're talking about. That's what guys like Nick and Mori are talking about when they say student of the game. That is him, to your point, Buster. That is him not reacting, not anticipating. He just knows what's happening because he does his homework. And so I'm excited to see him second team all SEC in 2025. That's a bold prediction. Can we say it's a bold prediction by Buster bold prediction?
That is
Buster hot take?
Change the font to bold. That is just off the frying pan hot. And that is what we call reasonable, unbiased, objective, and very true.
I love that, and exciting stuff today, Buster. Great job, man. This was fun right here.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, guys, we want to hear from you. New Gamecock of the week every Monday. You got a Gamecock you want us to break down? Buster is our film guy. I'll try to make some funny jokes, but I will not be the host because I'm just filling in for Mike today. Thanks so much for listening. We really enjoyed the show. This is my favorite segment, I think. Buster, I love this.
I think this is my favorite. Dude, I absolutely love this. I love being able to look at our guys, make bold predictions about the upcoming season. And being able to see, when there's been several times on this podcast where we talk about players and we try to talk about and give a description of their attributes. And it's hard to picture that with just hearing us talk, and no one wants to hear us talk all the time. So having a video, having highlights where all those things we say can be translated into something visual that's what makes this one of my favorite, if not my favorite episode. So yeah, we're going to be doing this all 2025 up until the next football season.
That is our New Year's resolution, and we're going to stick with it, guys. Thanks so much for listening today to another episode of Alumni Game podcast with your intern host, Sam Niedermeyer, class of 06, and the scientist, the mad scientist over there, Buster Clarkson, class of 02 or 03?
Yeah, 02.
Why do I keep forgetting that?
All right, so it's 02 for my undergrad, and then it is 012 for my grad. So I got two degrees. Both of them are real. They're both hanging on my wall. I carry them around to all my job interviews. So, everybody knows that they're real. But yeah, I'm a 02 guy, so a little bit older than everybody else.
Hey, you know what? People thought I was lying when I said you were a scientist, but I was telling the truth, man. I was actually telling the truth that time. The mad scientist. Buster, thanks so much for your breakdown, your analysis, guys. Thanks so much for listening. Continue to like, subscribe, and follow us on YouTube, Instagram, and anywhere you subscribe to your podcast. And that's going to wrap up another episode of Alumni
Game!
Cox!
Game!
Cox!